Nevada is a land of contradictions. It's a state defined by its neon lights, yet composed almost entirely of shadow and silence. It's a place where mountains cast shadows 50 miles long, where ancient lakes appear and disappear over millennia, and where the ground itself seems to hum with hidden energy. Most people know Nevada for the Las Vegas Strip, a few miles of pavement dedicated to excess. But the real Nevada is stranger, older, and far more mysterious. It's a landscape of extremes, the driest deserts, the oldest trees, and the loneliest roads. Today, we're driving past the city limits and into the unknown. We're exploring 50 insane facts about Nevada that you have likely never heard, each one revealing a side of the Silver State that feels almost unreal. Let's dive in. Fact 50. The driest state in America. Nevada is officially the driest state in the United States. While deserts like the Sahara are famous for heat, Nevada's dryness is a masterpiece of geography. The state averages only about 10 inches of precipitation per year. In the valleys of the Mojave Desert, that number drops to less than 4 inches. This aridity is caused by the rain shadow effect of the Sierra Nevada mountains to the west, which scrape the moisture out of Pacific storms before they ever reach the state line. Fact 49. More mountain ranges than any state. When you think of mountains, you probably think of Colorado or Montana. But Nevada is actually the most mountainous state in the contiguous U.S. It contains over 300 separate named mountain ranges. They run north to south in parallel lines, like a marching army frozen in stone. Geologists call this the Basin and Range Province. If you were to flatten Nevada out, its surface area would likely double due to the sheer verticality of its folded landscape. Fact 48. The loneliest road in America. U.S. Route 50, specifically the stretch running through central Nevada, was famously dubbed the loneliest road in America by Life magazine in 1986. The magazine warned drivers not to risk it unless they had survival skills. The road stretches for hundreds of miles with almost no towns, no gas stations, and zero cell service. It creates a psychological effect of total isolation, where the only thing you see for hours is sagebrush and the curvature of the earth. Fact 47. A hole that detects earthquakes in Japan. Devil's Hole is a geothermal pool in a limestone cavern in the Amargosa Valley. It looks small, but it's connected to a massive water-filled fault system. The water's so sensitive that when an earthquake hits the other side of the world, like the massive quakes in Japan or Chile, the water in Devil's Hole begins to slosh violently minutes later. It acts as a planetary seismograph, feeling the Earth ring like a bell. Fact 46. The deepest hole in the U.S. desert. Speaking of Devil's Hole, no one actually knows how deep it is. Divers have descended over 400 feet without seeing the bottom, and scientific equipment has mapped the caverns down to 900 feet. But the system continues into the blackness. 2 divers tragically vanished there in 1965, and their bodies were never recovered, suggesting that the underwater currents and chambers are far more complex than we can map. Fact 45. Nevada was underwater for millions of years. If you hike the trails around Red Rock Canyon or Lake Mead, you're walking on the floor of a vanished ocean. During the Paleozoic era, Nevada was the continental shelf of North America, submerged under a warm, tropical sea near the equator. The sandstone cliffs you see today are often cemented with the calcium of billions of ancient seashells, and fossil hunters regularly find coral and marine reptiles in the middle of the scorching desert. Fact 44. A forest turned to stone. In the Valley of Fire State Park, you can find large logs scattered across the desert floor. But if you touch them, they're cold, hard rock. These are petrified trees from the Triassic period, over 200 million years ago. They grew when Nevada was a lush floodplain. Over eons, the wood was replaced molecule by molecule with silica, turning the forest into a permanent mineral monument to a time before the dinosaurs ruled. Fact 43. The hottest temperature recorded in Nevada. Nevada's heat is legendary, but in the southern tip of the state, near the Colorado River, it reaches lethal levels. The town of Laughlin recorded a temperature of 125 degrees Fahrenheit or 52 degrees Celsius in 1994. At that temperature, the air burns your skin, asphalt softens, and the human body's cooling mechanisms begin to fail within minutes. It's a reminder that this landscape is actively hostile to human life. Fact 42. A mine that reaches into the Earth's core zones. Nevada is the Silver State. but it's also a gold giant. The Gold Strike Mine and others along the Carlin Trend are massive operations. Some open pits are so wide they can be seen from space, but the underground shafts go even deeper. Some descend over 3,000 feet underground. At those depths, the ambient temperature of the rock rises significantly due to the geothermal gradient, forcing miners to use massive refrigeration systems just to work. Fact 41. A river that disappears into the desert. The Humboldt River is a geographic anomaly. It flows for roughly 300 miles across northern Nevada, getting smaller and saltier as it travels. Instead of flowing into an ocean, it ends in the Humboldt Sink, a miserable, dried-up salt flat where the water simply evaporates into the sky. It's a terminal river, a waterway that essentially gives up and dies in the heat. Fact 40. America's largest alpine lake. Lake Tahoe, straddling the Nevada-California border, is a geological jewel. It's the largest alpine lake in North America and the second deepest in the U.S. after Crater Lake. It holds roughly 39 trillion gallons of water, enough to cover the entire state of California in 14 inches of water. The basin was formed by fault blocks dropping down millions of years ago, creating a hole so deep it captures the snowmelt of the entire region. Fact 39. A lake that never freezes. Despite sitting at over 6,000 feet in elevation and enduring brutal Sierra winters where air temperatures drop well below zero, Lake Tahoe almost never freezes. The immense volume of water stores heat from the summer, and the constant churning of currents moves warmer water from the depths to the surface. The last time any significant ice formed was decades ago, and even then, it was just a thin, fragile sheet near the shore. Fact 38. The tallest peak in Nevada. While Las Vegas sits in a low valley, the state's ceiling is incredibly high. Boundary Peak, located on the western border, rises to 13,147 feet. It's the northern tip of the White Mountains. From the summit, you're standing in the alpine tundra zone, a landscape of shattered rock and thin air that looks more like Mars than Earth, looking down upon the sprawling, hot deserts below. Fact 37. A desert filled with wild horses. Nevada is home to more than half of the entire wild horse population in the United States. Known as Mustangs, these animals are the descendants of horses brought by the Spanish conquistadors and later released by ranchers and miners. Today, herds of thousands roam the Virginia Range and the high deserts. Seeing a band of wild horses galloping through the sagebrush is one of the most iconic images of the American West. Fact 36. A ghost town frozen in time. Rhyolite was founded in 1904 during a gold rush. By 1910, it had electric lights, a stock exchange, and an opera house. By 1916, the power was cut and the town was dead. Today, Rhyolite is one of the most photogenic ghost towns in the world. The concrete skeletons of the bank and the train station still stand against the desert sky, monuments to the boom and bust nature of Nevada's history. Fact 35. The sand dunes that move. Sand Mountain, near Fallon, is a singing dune nearly 600 feet tall, but it isn't stationary. The wind in this valley constantly recycles the sand, pushing it up the mountain while gravity pulls it down. The dune is technically migrating, but the unique wind vortex keeps it trapped in the same general area. It's a mountain of sand that's constantly flowing, like a slow-motion fountain of silica. Fact 34. A mountain that glows at sunset. Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area is famous for its Aztec sandstone. This rock contains iron oxide, or rust, which gives it a vibrant red color. At sunset, when the angle of the sun is low, the rocks reflect the red light spectrum so intensely that the mountains appear to be generating their own light. They glow like dying embers in a fire, creating a stark contrast against the deepening blue of the evening sky. Fact 33. A hidden glacier in the desert. Inside Great Basin National Park, at the base of Wheeler Peak, lies a rock glacier. It's one of the southernmost glaciers in North America. While it is shrinking due to climate change, it's a remnant of the Little Ice Age. It survives only because the towering cliffs provide permanent shade, protecting the ice from the relentless Nevada sun. Finding a glacier in a desert state feels like a glitch in the Matrix. Fact 32. The state with the most ghost towns. Nevada has more ghost towns than inhabited towns. Historians estimate there are over 600 abandoned settlements scattered across the state. These range from mere foundations in the dirt to fully preserved main streets. They're the leftovers of a mining frenzy that tore the state apart in the 19th century, leaving behind empty saloons and rusted machinery as soon as the veins of gold ran dry. Fact 31. Ruby Lake, the marsh that shouldn't exist. In the middle of the high desert lies the Ruby Valley. It looks barren from a distance, but it hides the Ruby Lake National Wildlife Refuge, a massive network of marshes, ponds, and islands spanning 17,000 acres. It's fed by hundreds of springs bubbling up from the base of the Ruby Mountains. It's a lush, green oasis teeming with waterfowl, existing in a landscape that receives almost no rain. Fact 30. A cave filled with ancient ice. Lehman Caves, also in Great Basin National Park, is a marble cavern filled with spectacular formations. But deeper in the park's high-altitude caves, explorers have found ice caves where the temperature never rises above freezing. These caves contain columns of ice that have stood for thousands of years, preserving a climate record of the ancient world deep underground. Fact 29. The Sierra Nevada creates a weather wall. We mentioned the dryness, but the mechanism is fascinating. The Sierra Nevada range is a solid wall of granite rising 14,000 feet. When moist air from the Pacific hits this wall, it's forced up, cools, and drops its snow on California. By the time the air rolls down the other side into Nevada, it's bone dry and compressing, which heats it up. Nevada is dry specifically because California is stealing its water. Fact 28. One of North America's oldest living things. High on the ridges of Great Basin National Park grow the bristlecone pines. These gnarly twisted trees are the oldest non-clonal organisms on Earth. One tree, known as Prometheus, was cut down in 1964 for research before anyone realized its age. Counting the rings revealed it was nearly 5,000 years old. It was a sapling before the Great Pyramid of Giza was built. The remaining trees are protected with intense secrecy. Fact 27. An underground sea of water. Beneath the dry valleys of Nevada lies a secret: fossil water. Massive aquifers, some the size of Great Lakes, sit deep within the carbonate rock. This water fell as rain during the last ice age, 10 to 20,000 years ago, when Nevada was lush and green. It's a non-renewable resource. Once we pump it out, it won't be replaced for another 10 millennia. Fact 26. A fish that lives in one room. The devil's hole pupfish is the rarest fish in the world. The entire species lives in the top 80 feet of the devil's hole geothermal pool. They have the smallest geographic range of any vertebrate species on the planet. They have survived in isolation for thousands of years, trapped in a single stone room, evolving to tolerate water temperatures of 93 degrees Fahrenheit and incredibly low oxygen levels. We're halfway through the Silver State, and we've already found underground oceans, 5,000-year-old trees, and rivers that vanish into thin air. But Nevada's strangeness goes beyond geology. From classified military sites to acoustic anomalies, the second half of this list gets even wilder. Fact 25. The Extraterrestrial Highway. Nevada State Route 375 was officially designated the Extraterrestrial Highway by the state government in 1996. This lone stretch of road runs parallel to the restricted airspace of Nellis Air Force Range, home to Area 51. For decades, tourists have reported strange lights and high-speed aircraft in the night sky here. Whether they're aliens or top-secret military tech, the road remains the pilgrimage site of UFO hunters worldwide. Fact 24. The loneliest airport. While Las Vegas McCarran is one of the busiest airports in the world, Ely Airport, or Yellen Field, in rural Nevada, is one of the loneliest. It serves a massive geographic area with a tiny population. At various points in its history, thanks to federal subsidies for rural air service, the airport has operated commercial flights that sometimes carried only a single passenger. It's a lifeline for the remote mining towns, connecting them to the modern world. Fact 23. A cave where mammoths fell and fossilized. The Black Rock Desert is famous for Burning Man, but it's also a paleontological graveyard. In various sites across northern Nevada, animals from the Pleistocene era wandered into natural traps. The Tule Springs fossil beds near Las Vegas contain the remains of Columbian mammoths, camels, and American lions. These massive beasts roamed a Nevada that was a wet, marshy savanna, eventually dying and fossilizing right where suburban houses now stand. Fact 22. the park where stars look brighter than anywhere. Great Basin National Park is a designated international dark sky park. Because Nevada has vast uninhabited spaces, there's almost zero light pollution in the eastern part of the state. On a moonless night, you don't just see stars, you see the air glow, the atmospheric luminescence of the planet itself. The Milky Way casts a shadow on the ground, and you can see the Andromeda Galaxy with the naked eye. Fact 21. A desert that blooms with snow lotus. The desert is usually brown and gray, but after a rare wet winter, a super bloom can occur. Dormant seeds that have waited underground for decades suddenly sprout. Valleys like Death Valley, which crosses into Nevada, and the Lake Mead area explode into carpets of desert gold, purple matte, and the rare snow lotus. It's a fleeting, frantic burst of life that might only happen once every 10 or 20 years. Fact 20. Volcanic cones hidden in plain sight. Driving along Highway 6, you might notice strange black hills rising from the desert floor. These are the Lunar Crater Volcanic Field. They're cinder cones, the remnants of small, violent volcanic eruptions. The lunar crater itself is a maar, a crater formed when rising magma hit groundwater and exploded. The area looks so much like the moon that NASA used it to train Apollo astronauts for lunar surface missions. Fact 19. The Fly Geyser. In the Black Rock Desert, there's a structure that looks like it belongs on an alien planet. The Fly Geyser was created accidentally in 1964 when a geothermal energy company drilled a test well and failed to seal it properly. Hot, mineral-rich water began spraying out. Over decades, the minerals built up into fantastic green and red travertine cones that constantly spew boiling water. It's a man-made mistake that nature turned into a masterpiece. Fact 18. The state with a giant underwater forest. In the depths of Lake Tahoe, specifically in the Emerald Bay area, stands an underwater forest. Because the water is so cold and lacks the bacteria that typically decompose wood, trees that fell into the lake hundreds or even thousands of years ago are still perfectly preserved. They stand upright on the steep underwater slopes, their branches intact, creating a ghostly arboretum that only deep divers see. Fact 17. A desert sculpture made by nature. Cathedral Gorge State Park looks like a city made of melting wax. The spires and slot canyons were formed from bentonite clay, volcanic ash that settled in an ancient lake millions of years ago. As the lake drained and rain eroded the soft clay, it carved delicate, flute-like patterns into the cliffs. The walls are so soft you can scratch them with a fingernail, yet they stand in towering, cathedral-like walls. Fact 16. A mountain range made of marble. The Snake Range in eastern Nevada contains massive deposits of marble. This isn't just standard rock, it's a metamorphosed limestone. The intense heat and pressure of tectonic collisions cooked the ancient seabeds into crystalline marble. This is why the caves in this region, like Lehman Caves, are so ornate. The marble dissolves differently than standard limestone, creating rare formations called shields that exist in few other places on Earth. Fact 15. The river that hides underground. The Armagosa River is known as the Hide-and-Seek River. For most of its 185-mile length, it flows entirely underground, beneath the dry desert sand. It only surfaces during rare heavy rains or at specific oases like Shoshone. It's a lifeline for the ecosystem, providing water to the roots of plants, even though a traveler walking along its banks would see nothing but dry dust. Fact 14. The largest reservoir in America. Lake Mead, created by the construction of the Hoover Dam in the 1930s, is the largest reservoir in the United States by water capacity. It stretches 112 miles long. However, the most striking feature today is the bathtub ring, a massive white band of mineral deposits on the canyon walls that shows where the water level used to be. It's a stark, visual graph of the persistent drought gripping the Southwest. Fact 13. An entire town on a floating city of boats. At the Colville Bay and Cottonwood Cove marinas on Lake Mead, communities of houseboats create floating neighborhoods. These aren't just weekend boats. Some are massive, multi-story floating homes. Because the water level of the lake fluctuates so wildly, dropping over 150 feet in recent decades, the marinas have to be movable. The entire town is anchored on cables and winches, constantly moving further out as the shoreline recedes. Fact 12. The Red, White, and Gray Mountains. Nevada's Rainbow Gardens and the Bowl of Fire are geological wonders. Tectonic shifting has tilted the rock layers on their side. You can drive through a landscape where the mountains are striped vertically. Bright red Jurassic sandstone next to white gypsum, next to gray limestone. It looks like a layer cake that was sliced and tipped over, allowing you to walk across millions of years of history in a few steps. Fact 11. A desert where snow falls every year. While Vegas stays hot, the Great Basin is a high desert. The average elevation is over 4,000 feet. This means that in the winter, snow is a regular occurrence. Storms can drop feet of snow on the sagebrush valleys, creating a stark monochromatic landscape where white snow contrasts with black volcanic rock. It's a harsh environment where animals must be adapted to both scorching heat and freezing blizzards. Fact 10. Nevada has a lava tube you can walk inside. Near the lunar crater field, you can find ancient lava tubes. These caves formed when a river of lava cooled on the surface, creating a crust, while the molten rock underneath kept flowing. When the lava drained away, it left behind a hollow tunnel. Today, you can hike into these tubes, walking inside the plumbing of an ancient volcano, protected from the desert heat by the thick rock walls. Fact 9. The fastest place on Earth. The Black Rock Desert is one of the flattest surfaces on the planet. It's a prehistoric lake bed composed of alkali silt. In the summer, the heat dries it into a surface as hard as concrete and as flat as a pool table. This makes it the world capital for land speed records. In 1997, the Thrust SSC broke the sound barrier here, driving 763 miles per hour across the Nevada dirt. The first time a car ever outran sound. Fact 8. A lake that's actually warm. While Lake Tahoe is freezing, the waters of Rogers Spring and Blue Point Spring near Lake Mead stay a balmy 80 degrees year-round. These are geothermal springs, heated by the Earth's crust. They create tropical pockets in the desert where exotic fish, often aquarium pets released by locals, can actually survive and breed in the warm, mineral-rich water. Fact 7. The world's largest operable steam engine. Nevada is railroad country. The Virginia and Truckee Railroad preserves the history of the Comstock Lode, but the Nevada Northern Railway in Ely operates Old 40 and other massive locomotives. These are living museums where you can see, smell, and hear the machines that built the West. The mechanics in Ely still hand machine parts for these beasts, keeping 100-year-old technology alive in the 21st century. Fact 6. A town that floods from melting snow 300 miles away. The hydrogeology of Nevada is interconnected. The water that bubbles up in Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge didn't fall there. Isotope analysis shows that it's snowmelt from the mountains of southern Nevada and even Idaho that traveled underground through carbonate aquifers for thousands of years before resurfacing in the desert. A drought in the desert doesn't matter if it snowed in the mountains 10,000 years ago. Fact 5. A desert river that turns emerald green. Below the Hoover Dam, the Colorado River enters the Black Canyon. Here, the water's cold, clear, and free of the silt that usually makes the river brown. The depth of the channel and the high mineral content turn the water a brilliant, shocking emerald green. Kayaking through the Black Canyon feels like floating on liquid gemstone, flanked by towering volcanic walls that block out the sun. Fact 4. A geothermal wonderland. Nevada is the second largest producer of geothermal energy in the U.S., behind California. The crust here is thin, and the heat is close to the surface. There are over 300 known hot springs in the state. You can find boiling pots of mud, steaming fumaroles, and crystal clear soaking pools in almost every county. The state is literally letting off steam. Fact 3. The state still rises and falls. We think of the ground as solid, but Nevada is stretching. The Basin and Range Province is being pulled apart by tectonic forces. As the crust stretches, large blocks of land drop down to form valleys, while the adjacent blocks tilt up to form mountains. This process is ongoing. Nevada is slowly getting wider, growing by a few millimeters every year as the continent tears itself apart. Fact 2. The oldest lake in North America. Pyramid Lake, north of Reno, is the largest remnant of the ancient Lake Lahontan. It's a terminal lake with no outlet. It's famous for its tufa formations, calcium carbonate spires that formed underwater when the lake was much deeper. Occasionally, a whiting event occurs where calcium precipitates out of the water, turning the deep blue lake a vibrant turquoise color. It's considered sacred by the Paiute tribe and is geologically one of the oldest continuously existing lakes on the continent. Fact 1. A landscape still being written. The most insane fact about Nevada is that it's a work in progress. It's a living storybook of plate tectonics, volcanoes, and climate change. It's a land that captures the water of the past to survive the drought of the future. From the basin floors that stretch by millimeters a year to the mountains that rise with every earthquake, Nevada is not a finished painting. It's a landscape that changes with every sunrise, one wild fact at a time. Nevada is far more than a backdrop for gambling. It's a state built on ancient seas, sculpted by violent volcanoes, carved by glaciers, and ruled by extremes. It's a place where the earth is hot to the touch, where the water hides in the dark, and where the silence is loud enough to hear. If you enjoyed this journey through the Silver State, hit subscribe, tap the like button, and tell us in the comments, which Nevada fact shocked you the most? Was it the underground ocean, the singing dunes, or the fish that lives in a single room? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next adventure around the world.